Hello everyone, welcome to the Watchtower, and today we are going to be doing a non-spoiler review of Batman Earth 1 Volume 3. That's up next. Welcome to the Watchtower, everyone, and like I was saying before, today we are doing a non-spoiler review of Batman Earth 1 Volume 3, written by Geoff Johns with art by the great Gary Frank. This was, and has anybody who's watching my other reviews, you know I give my pros, my cons, and kind of my overall thoughts of the story. So this is, like I said, this is Volume 3. So this is the third volume in the Batman Earth 1 series. So you have Volume 1, Volume 2, and then Volume 3. And all written by Geoff Johns and illustrated by Gary Frank. And for anybody who's not familiar with the Earth 1 line of books, the Earth 1 line of books is a group of stories that are set on its own Earth, has its own continuity, is not tied into the main DC universe, so it really allows creators to craft stories, not beholding to, whatever 70, 60, 50 years of history. And they can just take the characters, and while they are familiar and they're recognizable, there's changes made to them. So, the Batman one is one of the first ones they launched, that and Superman. And I think Volume 2 came out in 2015. So, yeah, 2015. So it's been, 6 years between volumes. So it's about time we get, back to it. And I'm really happy we did because I really, really like this series. I think they're so good. I like the new twist on Batman and everything, and kind of like reestablishing characters and stuff, and Geoff Johns' whole new twist on everything. So yeah, I really like that. And that being said, I liked this book. I did not like it as much as the first two volumes in the series. And we'll go into why some of the issues I didn't like it, but I felt some of it, there was a little, there was just some issues with it that we will get into when we go into my pros and my cons. But the basic overall premise of this is that if you've read Volume 2, there are going to be some spoilers for Volume 2. So if you haven't read any of these, check out now and then come back after you've read this one. So at the end of Volume 2, Harvey Dent is killed by the Riddler when the Riddler attacks the police department. And this book starts off with Harvey Dent is dead, or is he? Because there is someone making deals with criminals in Gotham, giving them weapons, military-grade weapons and stuff, to start a new gang war in Gotham. And when Batman interrogates people, they're saying that Harvey Dent's behind it. So this whole thing where Batman's trying to figure out how can Harvey Dent be behind it when he saw Harvey Dent die. And then also add to that, Adrian Arkham, Batman's grandfather, who died 50 years ago, is now all of a sudden back and is in town, and he's a little off his rocker, and Batman's trying to help him and everything too. And he also has to deal with the emergence of Catwoman and just a lot of different stuff happening in this book that he's got to deal with. So that's the overall premise of it. So we'll get into my pros and my cons. So for my first pro for this, and it's, if you guys have read any of my stuff, art's a big thing for me, but the pro in this is the art. I mean, Gary Frank, what else can you say about Gary Frank? He's been doing this for a long, long time, and he's phenomenal. And the art in this is not any different. His art is so good and so gorgeous and so detailed. It looks amazing. There's not too much I can say about it, but he just crushes it on this. I mean, all of these he crushes it on. But this one is no different. It's so good, and the new character designs he has for characters and stuff, and just makes things terrifying in this atmosphere, the darkness and everything, and just it's really well done. I mean, no one draws, I don't feel like no one draws a crazy person like Gary Frank. I think Geoff Johns writes people in insane asylums or whatever just so Gary Frank can draw these crazy people with long hair and wild eyes and spit coming out of their mouth and everything. I think he writes those scenes just so Gary Frank has to draw them. I think he does it on purpose. So that's my first pro. Another pro I have is the characterization in this book. I love the characterization of these characters. I think it's really, really well done. I mean, of course, you have Batman. I love his interpretation of Batman and everything. I'm someone who I'm not a huge fan of usually how Jeff Johns writes Batman in the like main DC universe. I think he usually writes him as like he's trying to like get one over on him because because it feels like he doesn't like that Batman's so popular when he's just a dude and there's other characters that have powers and stuff that he feels like should be more powerful. So I feel like sometimes he's like trying to get one over on Batman in like main DC books and everything when he writes him and tries to like take him down a level. But this, with just Batman and everything, no issue. I love his characterization of Batman. I love the progression through these 3 books of seeing him grow and mature and everything and change and becoming more confident in his ability and everything and just embrace that and just And the first 2 volumes, he was very much just like, I'm Batman. I'm going to do it all as Batman. And this one, you see him more, okay, I can use the Bruce Wayne persona to do some things that Batman can't. So I love that. I love his interpretation of Alfred. It's very different from the main DC universe and everything, where Alfred's kind of proper and and helps out and everything. This is an Alfred who's not so proper. He's a little rough around the edges. He's a soldier. He's a little bit more brutal. He's not afraid to talk back to Batman and everything, and there's a level of mutual respect here in this. I mean, not that there isn't in the main universe, there is as well, but it's just a different level of respect and everything, and they trust each other, and they both have a similar like mission in a fight. And it's very, very interesting. I really like their dynamic. I love our Alfred's dynamic with other characters as well. Killer Croc. I love Killer Croc's characterization in this, and Killer Croc's more of this like misunderstood like monster, and it's more of like a nice person. And I really like his characterization of Killer Croc. I loved his characterization of Catwoman. So like typical Catwoman, strong, sexy, fierce. That we're used to. I just really liked, and just like flirty and dangerous. I really liked his version of Catwoman in this. Gordon's, stalwart as always and everything, and I just love the way he just interprets these characters. I love his whole thing with like Jessica Dent and everything and what she's going through, and I just loved his characterization. So good. Another pro for me in this is character changes. I love the the changes he makes to these characters in canon and everything, like from what they are, how we have them in our minds, and how he puts them into this, and he twists them and he changes it. I like that. A big one, he introduces Clayface in this book, and I love his twist on Clayface. I really like the way that he does Clayface. It's really cool, and I didn't actually see it coming. I didn't see it coming until very, very later on, and I was like, oh, that is a cool twist on Clayface. That's really cool. I like that. And just like I love the arc of Harvey Bullock in this too. How going from the first book where he's very like pompous and braggadocious and everything, and just like full of himself, and kind of gets like laid low by the end of the book, and kind of his whole like path to kind of find himself. And no, he's not really found himself yet. I'm really interested in seeing like, because Jim Gordon really believes in him and keeps giving him chances. I really want to see like, hopefully there's another volume or whatever after this, so we get to see more of like Harvey Dent, like not Harvey Dent, but Harvey Bullock come back and be like more like, like focused and be like a good cop and everything. So, and then like Catwoman, at first I had an issue with Catwoman here in this, because her costume when she's first introduced, I thought was atrocious. I'm like, this is a terrible Catwoman costume. Just absolutely terrible. It was like purple with black stripes and everything. Or black with purple stripes, however you want to look at it. But it was just terrible. And then a little bit later I was reading it, and she was actually calling herself the Cheshire Cat from like Alice in Wonderland. I was like, okay, so that makes sense more. So then after that, then I was okay with that character change and everything, because she wasn't really Catwoman yet. She was the Cheshire Cat. So I was okay with it because that fit the whole Cheshire Cat motive with the stripes and everything. And she had a shirt that had like a big smiling cat on it. So that actually made more sense. So I liked that change after they did it. And I like how it's like kind of like how Batman through the books has gone from like Batman version 1, and now this is like you could say this is like Batman like version 3. This is very much like Catwoman version 1. And we're just going to move onward and onward, and we're going to just get new versions of her as they go, and her become more like formidable and stuff, and more come into her own. Yeah, so those are my pros. Yeah, the story this was pretty good overall as well. I liked the story. Like I said, I don't think it was as good as the first 2 volumes, but it was a very interesting and had me like, I read this book really fast because it was just a page turner. So really good story. First con that I had is actually we're going to talk about the end of the book. So the very end of the book, there are some characters that are introduced. There are some big important characters to Batman mythos, and they're introduced in like a panel or two, not a page. They get like 1 or 2 panels, and then they're just there. And it's just like very quickly. So like Batgirl gets introduced in like 2 panels. Robin gets introduced in like 2 panels. There's these like big important characters to the Batman mythos that get introduced at the very end of the book, and just like 2 panels. And then it's kind of like they're just kind of like setting up, whatever the next thing is going to be. And I would have really liked if these characters were introduced organically over like a volume or whatever, and it felt more just like organic, I guess, because he figured like I really don't have anything new to add to like the Robin Dick Grayson story, so the origin is the same, where he was a circus kid and his parents are killed, and he's just gonna be adopted by Batman and stuff. So we're just gonna skip through that. We're just gonna show this, and then we're just gonna introduce him, and we're gonna do the same thing with we don't need to know the origin of Batgirl because we know it. I don't really want to change it, so we're just gonna get to her being Batgirl. I guess that could be the thing, but I felt like these characters are so iconic and so big. They deserve to be introduced, and they're taking their time throughout the story as they went. But, what can you do? That's how I would have done it, but I'm not getting paid to write these stories. But I just didn't like how I felt like they were just like forced in at the end as they had like a time jump to establish him like a couple years later, more like with like a Bat family and everything. My other con is the story twist in this. So the story twist, and without trying to do any spoilers, the story twist was like how Harvey Dent is alive. If you've read this book, there's a scene at the very end of it with Jessica Dent after Harvey dies. If you've read this, you kind of know what the twist is going to be. I was very disappointed. I felt like, why are we even like making this like a thing? Like they're trying to like hide it from the audience or whatever. Makes this like a thing. I feel like, Batman, would have, from after the end of this book, how this book ended, with Jessica Dent, Batman would have figured out the Harvey Dent thing pretty early on in this one, and it wouldn't have been so, like, blindsided by it, but he was very much blindsided with it. There was another twist in this that I really liked, that was really cool, that involved Adrian Arkham, his grandfather, and I thought that was a really good twist, but the one with Jessica Dent and everything, and Harvey Dent, and that whole twist, and how Harvey Dent's alive, I did not think that was a good twist at all. So that's my pros, my cons. Overall, I really like this book. I didn't like it as much as the first 2 volumes. I don't think it was, as focused story-wise as these 2. This one was a little bit more, there was like so much more happening. He was introducing a lot more characters and everything. So I just felt like there was a little bit not as much focus. Some of the characters that were more of a prime focus in the first 2 books didn't have as much time in this one, like Gordon and Bullock. I would have really liked to see more time with Gordon and Bullock, because I really like what he did with them in the first 2 volumes. I would have liked to see more of them in this, but it's kind of just established like, hey, they're Batman's. If Batman needs them, he's gonna call them and they're gonna help him out. So I would have liked to see more of them in this, but you can't have everything. There was a lot jam packed in this book. I did like the introduction of Catwoman and everything, though. So overall, I would highly recommend you guys pick this up and read it, especially if you like the first 2 volumes. It's still a really good read, and the art is just absolutely gorgeous. And then that brings us to, like, where is this going next? Because I've been hearing things that has been saying that this is the final volume in the series, that volume 3 is it, and they're done. I really hope that's not the case, because if it is, that'll be super disappointing, because I really like this run, but also the way this story ends, there's a Batman villain introduced at the very end that feels like it's setting up for the next story, but he's just like introduced, but you don't really see anything else on him besides he's just like a quick introduction, so it feels like they're setting up the next story. So I've just heard this thing that this is the last volume. So I don't know if this is like Batman Earth 1's the final volume, but they're going to spin it off into something else, because at the very end of this, also, Batman specifically mentions that he wants to put together a group. They're outsiders like him. They will be the outsiders of Gotham. So name drop the outsiders from the comics, which is, Batman's like vigilante team. So is they going to spin this off and it's going to be Earth 1, Batman and the Outsiders, or is that going to be something different? I really hope this isn't the end, though, guys. I really hope there's more of these stories to come. I really like them, and I hope, it doesn't take 6 years for the next one to come out, because that would be really disappointing, but, what can you do? But anyway, guys, that's been my review of this book. Like I said, I really liked it, but let me know in the comments what you guys think. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Or are you just like, I'm over it? No, these books, never got into them. Let me know, guys, in the comments. Thank you all so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you the next time that I log in for monitor duty up here in the Watchtower.